Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Bob Weeks, 2451 Regency Lakes Court in Wichita. Usually, when we've had a company like this asking for incentives from the city and the county, the agenda report will mention what's happened up at the Kansas Department of Commerce. In other words, the incentives that the company is also getting from the state of Kansas. That's missing from this agenda packet, so I thought I'd take a moment just to make sure we understand. First of all, there are tax credits from the PEAK program, $7.7 million. That's up to a training grant of $160,000, savings on sales tax almost $7 million, personal property tax exemption almost $12 million, and tax credits through the High Performance Incentive Program $8.5 million. According to the Department of Commerce, it adds up to about $35 million, although the nearly $12 million in personal property tax exemption, that's something that all companies in Kansas get now because we've eliminated that particular tax. But that still leaves a lot of money left over that are targeted incentives to this one particular company. So I wonder, when we look at the benefit cost ratio, by the way, there was not one calculated and presented for the state of Kansas. So about 13% of Kansans are Wichitans. So if we use that as a surrogate, an estimate for what portion of the state incentive costs will be paid for by Wichitans, then what would our benefit cost ratio look like? You know, in yesterday's Wall Street Journal, Charles Koch wrote of the harm of cronyism like the measure we're considering today. Not only us, but the County Commission and the Kansas Department of Commerce. Mr. Koch wrote, "Far too many businesses have been all too eager to lobby for maintaining and increasing subsidies and mandates paid by taxpayers and consumers. This growing partnership between business and government is a destructive force, undermining not just our economy and our political system, but the very foundations of our culture." Now, we might be tempted to reason that maybe there aren't many other companies in Wichita or even Kansas that make the same type of products that NetApp makes. So we might reason then that we can give NetApp a special helping hand, many millions of dollars, and not cause any harm to other businesses in Kansas. But that's a false hope. First, by having a special head start that most other companies in Kansas don't receive, NetApp can pay higher wages than it would otherwise. This increases costs for other businesses that hire the same type of employees, be they the specialized types of computer engineers, but also accountants, clerks, custodial staff, landscape people, or anybody else. These costs of these incentives raise tax costs for everyone, and I remind you again, the report of the Tax Foundation earlier this year that ranked Kansas 47th and 48th in business tax costs across the states in two different measures, and Wichita ranked very poor as well. As a result, we have people realizing, as is quoted by Mr. Steve Clark in Sunday's Wichita Eagle, once you condition the market to accept these incentives, there's nothing someone else can do to remain competitive but accept them yourself. Now we all have to accept incentives. So as a result, more and more economic activity, development activity is routed through government, be it local or state. No one will want to do anything unless they too get a government handout. That's what I believe Mr. Koch meant when he wrote, "The growing partnership between business and government is a destructive force, undermining not just our economy and our political system, but the foundations of our culture." He went on to write, "The effects on government are equally distorting and corrupting. Instead of protecting our liberty and property, government officials are determining where to send resources based on the political influence of their cronies. In the process, government gains even more power, and the ranks of bureaucrats continue to swell." Now, it's easy to see the economic activity and jobs created by programs like what you're about to consider today. It's much more difficult to see the harm, but we have to realize that harm is very real, and it's happening every week in this chamber almost. Those are my remarks. I'd be happy to answer questions if there are any.
Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this?